There we go. So let me open up Microsoft Word document. So in my downloads here, I have a document called Sherlock Holmes Word Processing. I'm going to open up in Word. By default, here, let me just open the whole screen. When you open up, you'll see this yellow bar in there. Just go and click on Enable Editing. That allows you to go and make changes and stuff. All right. What you're going to learn today, you're going to be able to apply to any document that anybody gives you. And the nice thing about this is that you can format a document in minutes, 1,000 pages. It won't matter. You can easily go through and document that. The first thing I want to do is show you how to make use of styles. This is that heading 1, heading 2 stuff that everyone goes, oh, just bold on it. But there's a reason why heading 1 and heading 2 is set up there. So on the document down, there's a slider here that'll allow you to increase or decrease your page view. Notice also I can also show 2 pages or 3 pages at any point. In the document, you'll see some items here. I'm just going to turn off my invisibles for a sec. You'll see an item here with 1 star and an item with 2 stars behind it. What I'd like you to do is just put your cursor anywhere on that 1 star and then click on heading 1. So anything that's got 1 star in front of it, it's a heading 1. Anything with 2 stars in front of it is a heading 2. If you can go through the document and just quickly assign those headings, that would be great. All right, pretty straightforward. All right, I'm going to assume that everyone's done that already. So let's go and take a look at that heading 1. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so we can see it a bit better under heading 1. By default, Microsoft has these different styles that it applies, but I'm going to change the style. Now think of this document as being 300 pages long. And someone comes and says, hey, Trevor, I need you to go through and change all the heading 1s and the heading 2s to different size, different font, different color. And in the past, when I didn't know better, and I did work on a 300-page document, people were changing this kind of stuff every 5 minutes, the spacing, the this, the that, and I would have to go through this document scanning for those heading 1s and heading 2. Even though I wasn't using heading 1s, I was just doing bold and formatting and stuff like that. Well, watch this. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go and select this. I'm going to try and select this by just triple clicking. Select the text. You can change the information here or from the pop-up. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to change this to 16 point and I'm going to make it red. Nice bright red. Now, at this point in time, I have only changed that one instance. But because it was a heading 1, when we can see it's highlighted up here, Microsoft still thinks this is heading 1 with some exceptions. But if I go and right click on this and I say update heading 1 to match, what it's going to do is it's going to apply that, and notice the color changes up here. That means anytime I want to use heading 1, it's going to be red and this size font. Let me scroll through my document. Anywhere I've applied the heading 1, it also changes to that. So 300 pages is not so hard to do anymore. I just have to go into one place, highlight the text, and here's my heading 2, and you can use any heading 2 you want. I'm going to do 14, and we'll make it a nice blue. Go up top here, right click, update the heading. And as I scroll through the document, all my heading 2s are now matching the same thing. So that's one of the biggest advantages of using styles, is that you can go through a whole document and update it. And as you're typing your document out, as long as you assign heading 1, heading 2 to those areas, you don't have to care what it looks like, because this is how easy it is to update that whole document. Another reason that we use headings is for people with visual disabilities. If you just put bold, it's just going to be like, all they're going to see is a word like visual disability don't see, but all they're going to imagine is something that looks like this. And it's their screen reader basically says something to the effect of Holmes, bold, comma, new paragraph, who first visited. That doesn't really help them. However, by saying heading 1, heading 2, they can picture these different sections. They know that this is a new heading, which means it's a new topic or subtopic, and it makes it a lot easier for people with visual disabilities. This is also going to be handy later on when we make our table of contents, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay, there we go. So far, that's good. Questions on any of this? I mean, this is the basics, but any questions? Okay. I'm going to go and turn my invisibles on just so we can see what's going on. So these invisibles show me where there's a paragraph mark, shows me where there's spaces. So here I can see there's 2 spaces after a period. So all the invisible stuff that is good to know, but doesn't actually get printed out. So visually it helps us out. I'm going to go to this first paragraph. Just put my cursor in it. Sometimes you can select part of the paragraph. It doesn't matter, because when you select one paragraph or put your cursor in it, you're basically saying to Microsoft, I'm interested in this paragraph. If I was to highlight 2 paragraphs, now I'm interested in 2 of these paragraphs. But for me, I always just highlight the whole paragraph just because that's what I've always done. So we've got our margins up at the top here. So if I grab this little box here at the bottom, and I'm just going to move it in 2 notches just for the heck of it, 2 and a bit, and off to the right here, I can adjust the paragraph margins. Now these are the left hand and the right hand margins, okay? So that's not for all of them. But what's going to be handy is, I'm just going to return this back to where it was, is I also can control indentation. Now in the past, when we used to use typewriters and people originally started off, they would go through, if they wanted to indent something, they would go into here, they would hit tab, and you'd have to go through the whole document putting tabs in. Notice with tabs, it jumps to a quarter space or a quarter inch every time. Whoops, come on, keep going, undo, I'm just undoing here. I'm going to take that top little bar, I'm just going to move it in 2. There's my indent. So I don't actually have to use a tab. I'm using what's called a left hanging indent. Or sorry, first line indent. And I've done it to this one paragraph here. Now it's applied to the normal style. Guess what? I can go and hit update normal to match the section, which is exactly what we did with those headings. And now my whole document has been indented. Hey, that's kind of cool. All right. Just like when you bold and italicize, if you're going to indent, you don't need to put spaces between the paragraphs. That's what indentation does. It shows you there's a new paragraph. So we're going to get rid of these 2 spaces here. Now, you could go through the whole 300-page document and start deleting everything, or we can do something even better, is we're going to use find and replace. So up in the top right-hand corner is our find and replace buttons here. Hey, by the way, is anyone using a Macintosh version of Word right now? Okay, we're all Windows. Okay, so I'm going to pull up find and replace. And here we see our normal find and replace. And typically you've used replace, where you say, I want to replace Bob with Robert, or, you know, something like that. Color, C-L-O-U-R, with C-O-L-O-R. So, I mean, everyone's pretty familiar with those kind of find and replacements. However, go to where it says more here. There's all sorts of other features available to you. One that's a really good one is match case. So for example, if I was to say I wanted to replace Bob with Robert, but Bob, who went fishing and lost his bob, which is the fishing thing that floats on the top, I don't want to replace all of those with Robert. So I'm going to say, hey, make sure Bob is match the case. It's going to be a capital B. Find only whole words. So if I'm bobbing along, I don't want to replace Bob and bobbing. I want to adjust the word Bob. So you can use these commands here to do all sorts of fun stuff. Where it gets even more exciting is down at the bottom here under Format and Special. We're going to go to Special, and we're going to look for Paragraph Mark. So that here is the same thing as this backwards P. So I can go and put this in twice to represent those 2 of them, and I'm going to replace it with just 1. And I'm going to hit Replace All. So see all my doubles here? Watch what happens. Bam. Just that easy. We've got all of our data done and gone throughout the whole document.
I have a question.
Thank you. Yes.
So on your Word document, and again, sorry, I don't know. How did you get the, when you changed the indentation, how did you get the little paragraph, little slider rule at the top?
Right here? Oh, well, this here is your
Yes.
ruler. So you don't have rulers on right now? Okay. Let's go under View here.
Okay.
And you'll see a little checkbox to turn the ruler on.
Thank you.
No worries. Sorry, usually by default it's on, so I didn't even think of that. But thank you very much for bringing that up. So yes, okay. Any other questions while we've stopped? All right. Okay, so here's we've got rid of this stuff. We've indented this, and this actually happened to me on this 300-page document. I had people come in, do exactly what we're talking about now, and then after I did that, they go, you know what? I don't like the indent. Let's go and put space behind again. Well, I could go in and I could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do find and replace it with 2 spaces. But instead, we can actually control that using the paragraph. So I'm just going to right click on here. I got the pop-up window, and there's where I go into my paragraph settings. The paragraph settings control your left-hand indent, your right-hand indent, your first line indent, and spacing before and after. So we're actually going to take out this indent here, and I'm going to put some space behind here. The space is added automatically. It's not you doing double carriage returns. And the beauty of it is, if you don't like it, you go back, you change 1 or 2 things, and make it a little bit less point size, and adjust the formatting there. So we're going to first just get rid of this first line indent. So we're going to set this to 0. So I can just double click and head it to 0 in there. And then afterwards, I want you to put in 12 points. Now, points is a printing. It's a little bit different than pixels. Well, it's a lot different than pixels, but 12 point was the standard back in the day when everything was printed off. So we're just going to put that space. I'm going to hit OK. See that space there? Now this is now been added. This thing here has been removed, the indent, and I'm going to go up to normal, and I'm going to update normal to match the selection. And look at my document now. So once you really understand how these controls work, you can format a 300-page document in minutes. Like, seriously, especially if you've gone in and assigned heading 1 and heading 2 ahead of time. And anytime someone comes and says, hey, you know what, I want to do an indent instead of carriage returns and stuff like that, or extra space, it takes you seconds to do it. This is going to be really handy when you work on those group projects. Trust me, because someone comes in and says, I like this, I don't want this, let's remove this. And then your formatting goes all over the place. So it's a nice, quick way of using the built-in styles to go and get exactly the look that you want. Now, take a look at this heading. I don't like the way that this heading kind of sits there and floats in between the two. It doesn't look like it actually belongs with that section. So what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight this paragraph here. I'm going to right click, and under paragraph options, which we did before, we're going to change this a bit. So for heading 1 and heading 2, and we'll have to do it for both, I want to change this to 18 before. So I want a big space in front of this, but I only want a 3-point space behind it. I want this to be sucked closer to this paragraph so that we know this title belongs with that paragraph. So I'm just going to hit OK. I'm not changing anything else here. That's my heading 2. I love the way that looks. So I'm going to go up to my heading 2 here, and I'm going to update heading 2 to match. Whoops, there we go. I just had my cursor over top, which shows you a demo. But now, when I look at all my heading 2s, whoops, go the other way, Trevor. All my other heading 2s, look at that. Nice, tight, clean. I don't have to wonder where does this belong. It's right in there with that piece there. We have to do the same for heading 1. So can you go ahead and proceed and do that, please? So I'm just going to highlight the text, right click, hit my paragraph, put 18 points beforehand, 3 points afterwards, hit OK. And again, I'm going to update all my headings. There we go. How cool is that? When I've discovered this, and I was realizing if I had known this during that 300-page document and the number of hours I spent changing stuff like that, I almost cried. It was like, oh my God, this is just beautiful, this wonderful term. So the fact that you can start doing all this and now have all this stuff so easily for you to adjust just makes your life so much easier. I want you to scroll down probably about 3/4 of the way down. You're going to find a paragraph, this one here, where the last line is bolded. So we're on page, where'd it go? Page 3. Sherlock Holmes on John Watson's pamphlet. So this page here, or this piece here, is kind of like a quote, all right? And typically with a quote, what happens is the person's name gets pushed underneath it. Well, if I go and put a carriage return here, I'm putting in, it says, okay, this is a new carriage. I'm going to put in that 12-point space. And when I highlight the text, you can see that 12-point space here in the gray. But I don't want this to have a space between it. I want it to be right underneath it. So instead of a paragraph, we're going to insert what's called a line return. So sometimes you'll see it referred to as LR. A line return means just that. It's not a new paragraph. I just want to shove this text to the next line. And to do it, you just hold the Shift key down and then hit Enter. There you can see it's a different control. It's this little arrow, and there's the end of the paragraph. So that's where we're still going to get that spacing and everything else does. There are times rather than trying to create a new style or anything like that, just having a line return shoved in is going to just be the easiest way to do it. Quick and dirty because that still has the paragraph formatting. All right, let's scroll to the top. Table of contents. Everyone hates table. Well, a lot of people hate table of contents because what ends up happening is you build the table of contents, you get the numbers all lined up, you've manually gone through and set it up. Someone's added a paragraph and then all the page numbering goes away. Well, we actually can take advantage of these headings and let Microsoft build a table of contents for us. So I'm going to go to the very top here. I'm going to go into insert. And I'm going to start by inserting a blank page. So this is where my table of contents is going to be. So I'm just going to go to the scroll back to the top here. And right at the very, very top, I'm going to insert a table of contents. At one point, table of contents used to be under the insert menu. It's now under references. And off to the side, you'll see table of contents. If you click on the drop down arrow, there's a bunch of different formats you can grab. I'm just going to grab the first one now. And notice what's happened here is I now have all my heading 1s and heading 2s lined up, exactly like you would expect them in a table of contents. And the nice thing about it is if I click on it, and no, let's see if I can get it to work. I'm on a Mac connecting to a Windows machine, so my clicking controls never work the way I want them to. So please bear with me. There we go. Those table of contents are hot links that'll take you to that section. Now, I've got my table of contents at the top here. Watch this. I'm going to go in here. Cynthia, thank you. I always love that reaction. I actually had people who weren't on, weren't muted. They went and said the same thing. They were like, "Oh my God." I'm going to enter in John Watson here. I'm going to maybe go to the bottom here and let's see, fine here. Well, I'm going to take this summary here and I'm going to push it to the next paragraph. So, come on, work for me. Oh, wrong machine. There we are. So it's now in the different paragraph because maybe someone added a paragraph or something like that. Go back to the table of contents, and if I click on it, it says update table of contents. You go in and you say update the table and the page numbers. Notice summary was on page 5, but I shoved it down to page 6. Watch what happens. Shazam. Remember, it was Life with Dr. Watson. It saw that I made a change, so it added the change there. And look at my summary. My summary is also on page 6. So that's the beauty of, and the big reason why it's important to make use of, whoops, come on, go back. I'm just trying to make use of those styles, because all the controls that you have for doing the table of contents and stuff are right there. And the last thing you'll do before you print your document off or hand it in is you run that table of contents update, and bang, there you are. It's quick and easy. You don't have to worry if something got pushed to a different page or anything like that. It's already being taken care of.
I have one question. Is it possible to update it automatically, or do you always need to do it manually?
I haven't seen anything that does it automatically.
Okay, thanks.
And I can understand that because, I mean, then Microsoft's trying to like keep pushing brain cells, trying to keep you updated. But if you're working on a document with 3 other people and you're constantly mishing and mashing stuff, then it's probably going to have problems keeping up with that. I suspect, though, as we move more and more forward, I mean, like these features that you've seen are old features. I mean, they've been around for like 20, 30 years. It would not surprise me as we move to Office 365 and more advanced features come in that would be automatic. But some people might not want that automatic change. They might want to make sure first, review the document first, make sure the title's correct and all that before I go and update the table of contents.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. It's only a 2-second click, so it's still better than manually going through. All right, so that's table of contents. And the beauty of these table of contents is when you share this document. So if you have this document in Office 365, you can share the document. You can create a PDF out of it. These shortcuts here all still work. So whether it's a PDF, whether the person's viewing this on their mobile device, it's still going to work as a clickable link to get to that section. And any changes you make are also, like I said, are going to update, unless it's a PDF, because PDFs obviously are just a snapshot in time. They're not an actual live document. All right, cool. Well, let's take a look at some of the other things that we need to do. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of all these double spaces, and I'll show you why, for a couple of reasons. So here, if you take a look, let me just scroll out just a little bit. If you ever look at a document where someone has gone in and put in double spaces, you can see what's called rivers of white. You can see where this thing kind of comes here, then it goes here, then it goes here. These things stand out. And in some cases, depending on how they're, like if they're all lined up close together, you will see like it's almost like a river going through this paragraph of white space, because we don't need it there anymore. So let's get rid of the rivers of white. So we're going to do that by, again, bringing out our good buddy, find and replace. So I'm going to click on replace. So what are we going to replace? Well, we're going to replace spaces. Now, I think there is a space, you know what, I never even looked, it's been so long. So whether it's a non-breaking space or white space, you could use either of those. For something like this, I'm just going to put in 2 spaces. And guess what? I'm going to replace it with 1 space. That's pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get rid of all those spaces that are in there. So I'm just going to hit replace all. And when we're done, we're going to find that all those little double spaces are gone. Whoops, let me put my invisibles back on again. All right, so that's done. Next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of these pieces here. Okay, so we've got our heading 1 and heading 2. I'm just going to jump to the top here. The only reason I put these stars here was just so that you could go in and you can go in and find this stuff. Now, I just want you to watch my screen for a second, because I'm going to show you a very common error that people will make, and whether it's multiple tabs or whatever else. But take a look here. I've got a star and a space. I'm going to go in and I want to replace that star and space. So I'm going to actually type in my star, whoops, star space. What do I want to replace it with? I want to replace it with nothing. You do not have to put replace with and put something in there. This basically is just a cut, is what it's doing. So I don't have to replace it with anything. So I'm just going to go through and replace all. Now notice I've got 1 star here and I have 2 stars down there. I go ahead and I replace all. And I look up top here on my page. There we go. That looks really good. There's that background. It's been removed. But wait a second. I have family here. Well, remember, this had 2 stars in a space. This was 1 star in a space we were searching for. So all it did was take out part of this requirement, right? Left us with a bunch of, the star left over. I've seen this happen too when people will do this with multiple tabs. They'll take out 1 tab, and there's some places that have 5 tabs, so they take out 1 tab. Well, now you're down to 4. Now you're down to 3. So you have to keep repeating yourself. When you have a case where there's multiple items of something, start with the biggest one. So if you've got something here that has like a piece of text with 5 tabs in it, and 5 tabs is the largest, start with 5 tabs, then go to 4, 3, 2, 1. Because all 1 does is make 5s into a bunch of more 4s, makes 4s into a bunch of more 3s. You're not really getting anything done. So we're going to do this again. This is where you guys can come in. So 2 stars and a space to start with. Replace it with none. Bam, that gets rid of all those. Then all I do is I just go in and just delete one of these things, replace all. And when we're done, we'll have a nice clean document. I'll give you guys just 30 seconds to do that, find and replace. That's probably pretty easy. So the find and replace here actually is very, very strong. It does more than just text and stuff. I mean, and you have these special characters like this. Remember this one here? You can, once you get to know them, you can just type them in. So that thing is called a caret P. I could just type in 2 caret P's, one after the other, and which is what I do. After a while, you just get to know everything. But let's take a look at something else. Where's I going to go with this one? Oh yeah, I'm going to go back up to my table of contents. So some of these things here might actually be better as a heading 3, like the inspiration, the first appearance. Well, maybe the first appearance should be a heading 3, family, and then life with Dr. Watson. Well, Dr. Watson was kind of like family, so maybe that should be a heading 3. It should be a heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So I'm going to go through and change all that. Now, I can manually go through, but if I got a 300-page document and stuff, and I'm just kind of looking it over, yeah, I could jump and scroll through, but I can also use find and replace. So here, what I'm doing is I'm not asking for text, but when I go under format, I can say, hey, the font's either got to be bold, the paragraph's got to match certain criteria, there's got to be 3 tabs in there, but I'm going to go down to style. Style means style sheets, like the style sheet here, right? So I want it to find heading 2, and then I'm going to replace it with heading 3. Ooh, what is he doing, that you ask? So I'm not even looking for text. I'm looking for formatting. Now, I'm not going to replace all. I'm just going to find next because I'm looking for first appearance and life with Dr. Watson. So find next. Yep, I want to replace that one, right? Yes, life with Dr. Watson. So I'm going to replace that one. Then we'll move to the next one. Nope, we're going to find the next one after that. That's not it. That's not it. Let's start from the top again. And first appearance, yeah, we'll replace that. Look at that. I now have heading 1, heading 2s, and heading 3s in place. And when I scroll to the top here, I just got to refresh my table. And sure enough, go away, completely go away. Come on. It'll redraw itself. But there we can see the indented there. We can see the indent there. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's cool. Thanks for sharing.
Okay. Sure, no problem. And that's one of the things that's really important about the find and replace is that you can go in and look at formatting. So, maybe you went and bolded, or maybe you want the word Robin bolded throughout your document. So you can just put in the word Robin, bolded, and then you want to make it a heading 1 or whatever. I mean, you can change all of that stuff, right? So do yourself a big favor. Go through, check out what's all there, check out the special stuff, check out the formatting, find out what you can do with find and replace, because it's more than just replacing text. And it will save, when you understand some of the stuff that you can do with it, it can save you so much time. All right. I didn't know that you could actually replace with nothing. I always thought you had to put something in there, so it used to throw me off. Remove. Let's scroll down to the bottom. Let's go down to tabs. So right at the last page, you'll see this summary here. And before we get to tabs, any questions on anything that I've covered so far? Okay, we have 20 minutes left. 15 minutes left. So I just want to make sure that we catch everything that you need to catch. So this is very common. And again, this is something that came over from the old typing days where people would use multiple tabs. And notice what happens is stuff will try and line up on the half-inch mark as much as possible. No, but you'll notice here at 2 tabs here and 2 tabs here, but the stuff's not lining up the same way. Part of that has to do with the length of the text here. So you're never going to get stuff to line up correctly unless you do tabs properly, and that's what we're going to do. Highlight all of this stuff here. Let's go back to our buddy find and replace. And I'm going to make sure you go into here and hit no formatting. If you've got anything in there, just get rid of all the stuff. But all I'm doing is I'm just going to do a find and replace on this. So find what? Well, caret P was for a paragraph, so caret T, so that's 6, is for tabs. So I'm going to look for double tabs, and I'm going to replace it with a single one. If I hit replace all, it's just going to replace it within the section that's highlighted. Oops, there we go. Now I've got it all down to single tabs. Excellent. I'm going to show you how to do tabs 2 different ways. So if you watch my screen first, you have to select the text that you want to manipulate. I'm going to remember everything goes at the half-inch. I want the middle name to come right here at about 2 1/4. So I just click up in the white section here. Come on, there we go. Gray section, sorry. And it puts in what's called a left-hand tab. So everything is lined up on the left-hand side. I'm going to put another one over here at 5. And it's not going to let me, so I'm going to move this to the right here a bit. I actually want all this text to line up on the right-hand side, not on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do some changes here. The easiest way to put tabs in, whether it's manually or what have you, is through paragraphs. So here I've put stuff in place. That's great. I do want that tab to line up, everything to line up here on the right-hand side. So here's my text. Let's right-click and go into paragraphs. And down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll find tabs. Here are the tabs that are already set in place, 2.25, 4.6. I can manually just type in stuff and add it. Or I can do like here, just put some in base rough really quickly where I want it and then adjust it. I'm going to go to 4.06. I actually don't want that one. I'm going to clear that one out. I actually want one at 5.5. So I'm just going to type in 5.5 and I'll enter it. But whoops, I didn't mean to do it that way. Bring up my paragraph again. Try again, tabs, 5.5. But notice here, it's a left hand. I'm going to say I want it right. So everything's going to come flush right to the right. I'll hit OK. There it is. That's a right-hand tab because everything lines up on the right. This is the left-hand tab. It lines up on the left. This happens to there. So there I've got all my stuff lined up where I want it, not by using a bunch of double tabs and then maybe only get into the half-inch spaces, but exactly where I want to get it. Tabs is something that helps you control your data and how it's displayed. So I really recommend that you don't do multiple tabs. You should stop doing that if you are, and correct anyone else that does it. But single tabs gives you that control. And you can eventually create a style. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you can create a style that's called Table 1. And every time you click on the text, it's going to have all this stuff lined up exactly as you see here, so that you have a style, you apply it, you just hit the tabs, and they're going to line up. This is how 3 columns is always going to line up. Questions on tabs? If you find...
about the... Oh.
Sorry, go ahead, Robin.
I found about the styles. Is it possible to save it and open it in another document?
Sorry, try that again.
Most of the time, the style, for example, this orange one from heading 1 is saved to this document in particular.
Right.
Can you also save it for another document?
Yeah, you can. I don't have time today, but what you can do is you somewhere on your computer is normal.dot. So that's your template. You can open up that normal.dot template and you can go in and then you can add all the styles over. If you just search transfer styles, I think it is, or just even styles, but it'll show you how you can pull the styles from one document to your normal template, and then that way everything is assigned to it. A quick and dirty way that I've done in the past, because there is a way of moving styles from point A to point B, or from file A to file B. If you look under the help there, it'll show you how to do it. But an easier way to do it is, let's say you just take all your styles that you've created, put them in a row like this, undo this, and then undo heading 3, heading 3. Then what I would do is I would copy this, paste it into your new document, or to whatever you want to transfer to, paste it over there, and then you do this. You go to here, right-click, update based on this text. Update everything based on that. That's usually the fastest way to do it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, if you search styles, it'll show you, there'll be a documentation like up here, or if they search, just search styles, and somewhere Microsoft has a document on how to move styles from one document to another. But quite frankly, I find this is just the fastest. I just create a document, just one line with each style on it, copy paste it to another document if I need to, and do it. If you're looking to create a style, then you need to find that normal.dot document that's stored on your computer. And yeah, that'll keep it ongoing for every other document you create. But for the short term, yeah, quick and dirty. All right, we've done tabs here, and I'm going to go down here, back to the bottom. Do you remember? I don't know if you guys are still formatting resumes in the same way, but back in the day, it used to be I would put the name of the company that I worked at here, then I would put in all the description stuff down here, and it would all line up nice and cleanly. And sometimes you would use tables to do that, or sometimes you'd use a bunch of tabs. And of course, if you're starting to use, like I would do something like this, and then some tabs, and then you'd have to, so you would end up with like 15 tabs here. But if you added 3 words here, your tabs would all get messed up. Again, using the tools that you need to. Well, let's highlight Sherlock Holmes here for a second. And remember up top here, we were playing around with some stuff. I want my left-hand margin to be at 2. So I'm going to grab the bottom where the box is. So both items, arrows come here. And there is my left-hand column. So that's what I want for the most part. Remember at the beginning, we did an indent on a first line indent, which is that triangle on the very top. So I can do a first line indent this way, but I can also go the other direction and do what's called a hanging indent. So now whenever I create a paragraph, I can put in 2 or 3 items, hit tab, and then I'm going to go through and just type all my text, and it's going to keep flowing that way. Well, that's kind of handy. I think I'm going to make a style out of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a style that's going to be available up here. So let's highlight this paragraph here. And I'm going to go into here where is my styles? Under styles here, I'm going to create a style. So I'll create the style, give it a name. I just call it hanging. And I'll hit OK. So there's my hanging indent. Now I've got the style up here. I can go to this paragraph here. This paragraph is normal. I'll highlight that. It's normal. There's my hanging. I just click on that. And now I have a hanging indent. How cool is that? Let's go to the next page here. This is the second paragraph to this. I'm going to make it a hanging indent. Well, wait a second. This actually doesn't have anything to go off the left here. I just still want it to go off to the right. So what I can do is I'm going to go up here. I'm going to line this up correctly. And I'm going to create a new style called hanging 2. Whoops, over here. So I'm going to create a new style, and I'll call it hanging 2. That's for any time that I need that second paragraph, right? So here is my hanging. There's hanging 2 if I need to go that way. And now these styles are all available to me. Remember before, there's that table. I could highlight all that, create a new style, call it 3-column table. Bang. Anytime I need 3 columns, it's all formatted exactly the way I need it. Okay. Any questions on this stuff? Because creating styles sometimes gets confusing. Okay, we're good. Just going to talk about margins and headers and footers real quick. Before you start a document, if you think you are going to have different margins over here, do yourself a favor and set those out first. Find those under layout. Right now we've got this inch and what is it, almost 2 inches, 1 3/4. I'm going to go into my margins. I can manually adjust them, or else I can say use something that's already existing. So I'm going to go with narrow here, which is 1/2 inch all around. And now I've got just a 1/2 inch of space here. But notice that space now becomes a lot bigger. The tabs here are in a lot bigger space. I now have to redo all that. So that's why I always say to people, start off, make sure your margins are set the way they're going to be set. Because if you have to go in and change them, then you're going to have to change your formatting. Because if I wanted this flush right, well, right is way over here, not there. So these are all things that are going to affect your spacing and stuff. So margins should be the first thing you do. Footers and headings, footers and headings. Usually I say headings and footers. I don't know why I did that. I'm going to go to the top of the page, just double click here, and this brings me into the headers and footer section. Okay. Anything I type into here is going to show up on all the pages. So I might put the title of the document up here, and then in the footer, I might put in the page number. And you can add the page number really easy by putting add page number. So I'm going to go into here. Well, actually, I'm not going to do here. I'm just going to talk about this in a second. If I put the page number though, and this is my table of contents, that looks really silly. I don't need, or on my title page, I don't need a page 1 on the title page. So there is a different first page here. So if you click on that, whatever is your first page, this is going to show up there. This is where you can have something different on the first page, in this case be nothing, or I go down here and I can put my page number. So I'm just going to do page and insert my page number. No, on the bottom. I'll put in the middle, sure. So I'm going to actually do this. Whoops, go ahead. Page 2. And as I scroll through, it's going to show up on all the pages, page 2, but it won't be on that first page. It won't be a page 1. Cool. Now, here's a trick. There's all sorts of field information you can insert into here. So I'm just going to do page 2 of, and what I want is this to automatically throw in what the total number of pages. I'm going to go back to insert. I'm going to go over here to quick parts. And I'm going to go into fields. Here's all a bunch of different data that you can insert into your document. Okay, I can put down the title of the document. So if I change it, the title, it automatically updates in the footer or wherever I happen to put it. I can do, in this case, I want number of pages. So I'm just going to insert that in here. Now it says page 2 of 5 because it knows there's 5 pages in here. I'm going to go and insert a page somewhere. Switch back to here. I'm going to go into here and insert a page break. So let's insert page break. So it shows it to the next page. Now, oh, hang on. Let me push this one in here as well. Good enough. Now it's page 6, 5 of 6, page 4 of 6. So there's all sorts of cool field information that you can throw in there. Data that was printed off, or data was saved, or sorry, date that was saved. All sorts of field information. So I mean, rather than you having to manually do a bunch of that stuff, check into Quick Parts, see what else is all available to you. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure. And nobody leave yet, because I'll give you a link for your certificate. So sorry, Cynthia.
No, that's okay. What often happens is I will get a document from my boss that she has formatted, and she'll ask me to fix it or add to it or,
Right.
revise it. And then the formatting is all wonky. So, for example, I will do whatever to it, and then I'll have a whole page that's blank. Is that page break, and can I take that out?
Yeah, if you turn the invisibles on, you'll see
Yeah.
it says page break right there.
Yeah.
Just highlight the whole thing.
And
There you go.
Okay.
And here's a cool thing. Go back to our good friend find and go back, Trevor. Find and replace. You can look for page break as part of those special characters.
So page break to no page break.
I've never done that, but I assume you should be able to. So yeah, manual page break. Let's do that. I've never done this. This is great. I get to learn something now. So manual page break, and let's replace all. 2 replacements. That's what it was. And yeah, we're down to 4. So yeah, you can do that.
Great. Thank you so much.
No worries. One of the things when you're working with your boss, one of the things you might want to explain to them that if they can use the heading 1, 2, and 3s, that will make reformatting so much easier for you. Now that's a tough one because half the time they never, they don't know what they're doing. But if you can get them to do that and get them into the habit as they're typing to go heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, then your time and your pain is reduced drastically.
And she might be doing that, and I just don't know because that's the first time I ever heard about these heading things today. So I have to go back and take a look. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just click on it and you'll see up top here what she's done. Like, because there's heading 1. That's what's been selected is whatever's in the bolded there.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but thanks so much for all the tips.
Oh, no worries. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll paste the link in there. You guys, you said you can't see the chat, right?
I can.
You can? Okay.
Good.
All right, then I'm going to give you a link for your certificate of attendance. This certificate of attendance is made by me. It's Trevor's certificate of attendance, which means it's absolutely worthless, but most people around the queue quite like it. Where's my mouse? Hello, mouse. There you are. And also, if you like what you saw here, I can't stress enough, I have a session on tomorrow, called Spreadsheet Without Numbers. If you use any kind of spreadsheet, like you get a list of names and stuff and you need to manipulate stuff, it is an awesome 90 minutes. Like this and that are my 2 favorite courses to teach because they have all these oh my God moments in them. And if you ever deal with spreadsheet, we're not dealing with number, but with data, like people's names and phone numbers and class lists and signups and from Google Forms and stuff like that. Trust me, it will save you so much time and you will look like a demigod if you can manage those skills. So that's tomorrow. If you're interested, you can sign up. Let me just there's the calendar link. By all means, please come and join again. And that's it. I'm going to stick around for a little while. So if you've got any other questions, whether it's Microsoft related or not, that's fine. I'll be here for a bit.
Perfect.
Oh, and if you're using Google Docs, a lot of this stuff applies to Google Docs as well. You can use the headings. You can update the headings and stuff. You can create a table of contents. Google Docs does the same thing. All right. Any questions? Anyone?
Yeah, I have one for the session tomorrow because I have a midterm scheduled. But is it possible to watch the recording back? Because I found this session really useful.
Yeah, actually, where do I have that recording? Give me 2 seconds and I can. I'll pull it up. I've got one on WebEx somewhere, so give me a sec. Thought I had it somewhere else.
Because it would be really interesting to see the one of tomorrow at a later time back.
So it'd be cool tomorrow to see what?
To see the recording back because I have a midterm, but this session was really helpful, so I think tomorrow will be as well.
Yeah, sure. Give me 30 seconds and I will have the link for you. Just got to log into WebEx. Oh, actually, you guys have access to Stream now. Okay, hang on. I know where I've got it. Give me 2 seconds. Why?